Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for setting this up. I definitely appreciate it. It's always great to give a presentation on something that we're passionate about, which is fine art, valuable asset insurance. We consider this the fun side of insurance. We don't provide any auto or home or life or anything like that. Quite frankly, I don't think we'd be any good at it. But I'm excited to be here and present this. And other thing that I've been thinking about is hope everyone is healthy and safe out there during this time of COVID-19. I know with the isolation, it can be kind of daunting, but we'll get through this together, and hopefully this will help shed some goodness on some of our activities during isolation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jason Saarm, president of Bluewater Insurance, and we just focus on fine art and valuable asset insurance. And so first off, I thought that this might be a great question to just jump at. We get this quite a bit when it comes to homeowners policies, protecting collections versus what we provide, which is a standalone specialty type product dedicated for fine art and valuable assets. Okay, so when we look at just homeowners insurance in general, generally there are limitations to homeowners policies, and sometimes there's not. Okay, but what we recommend is that we all have an insurance agent of some sort who's our direct contact. That could be a retail agent, that could be a broker, a wholesaler, even a specialty provider. Our main recommendation here at Bluewater is ask them, okay? Just act and ask the questions, am I protected? Okay, and a lot of times what we discover is that agents don't really know what their clients have. Do they have a numismatic collection? Do they have a wine collection? They're like, I don't know. So it's really up to us to ask the questions to make sure that, hey, you know what? I have a wine collection. Am I protected? Right? So that's a good way to start the conversations. Then dig a little bit deeper into the homeowner's policy to see if it aligns with your particular needs as a collector. Does it include shipping? Are my assets protected for their individual value, but also the entirety of the collection as a whole? Okay, what kind of coverages does it actually provide? Does it provide earthquake? Does it provide flood? Does it provide theft? Those are the questions that we really want to ask, because generally what we discover is that when it comes to a homeowner's policy, there are certain exclusions, there are sublimits, there are deductible requirements. Okay, so the onus is up to us to really ask our agents to see whether or not those valuable assets are protected. I put down numismatics and wine as a key example because a lot of times a homeowner's policy is not going to cover wine collections. Due to breakage, they just don't have the coverage form to offer that type of protection. Numismatics I put there because a lot of times when it comes to a homeowner's policy, they consider that money. Okay, so if we have a Morgan that's a high grade, let's say MS 65, right? Maybe it's a Carson City Morgan. So it's a high value, rare coin that you definitely would need to protect that asset. And a lot of times a homeowner's policy will only cover up to $250 when it comes to monies. Okay, so monies include cash. That also includes any kind of numismatics. And us as numismatic collectors, we know that, you know what, I might have 500 coins and I have about $25,000 of value. Well, that's worth insuring. Okay, those are some of the things that we can ask our agent about to make sure that it is properly protected. And a lot of times with Bluewater, we work with independent agents, brokers, wholesalers nationwide. And a lot of times they would call us. Right. So, if that is the case, we'd be more than happy to speak with your agent on your behalf. We do it all the time. We can work together to make sure that you're properly protected. The next one is, well, you know what? We get this. What are the advantages of a standalone separate policy? Right. A specialty policy that we provide. We're underwritten by Markel, who's a leader in the space. It's their coverage form. And this is what is offered. Okay, this is what we provide. So when it comes to a separate specialty policy, the number one advantage is making sure that the value of individual pieces and entire collection is protected, meaning that in the event of a claim, you're paid out for those assets. All right. So if there's a fire, if there's a flood, total loss, you have a $100,000 numismatic or wine collection, we're going to pay out. Okay. Let's say a individual item, you just purchased one online, it's coming to you, it's being shipped to you, it's gone, right? Something happened in transit, it's gone. Well, because of specialty coverage, you're covered for shipping. No shipping insurance, right? So a lot of our numismatic clients love that. Our wine clients love it. Our art clients love it because they don't have to buy separate shipping insurance. That's the benefit of a specialty coverage that we provide. Not all homeowners policies do that. Not all policies do that in general. Okay. Another advantage here is schedule versus blanket. So we can customize any kind of collection value we see coming through the office. Okay, so we can either schedule, which means someone has an itemized list. We're just going to schedule every single item, and whatever that N number is, that is going to be the limit. Okay, blanket coverage is maybe someone doesn't have a schedule, but they have a pretty good idea what they have. They have some documentation, but they just want the flexibility in knowing that, you know what, I just want to be insured for $100,000, maybe $250,000 of coverage. Perfect. However, in the event of a loss, you still have to provide information on that particular asset. Okay, so the onus of proof does fall back onto the collector. Okay. The other advantage here, and there's a couple of them you can read, but knowledgeable service is one. I put down here, one size doesn't fit all, because all collections are different. Okay, no matter what that is, all collections are different. All profiles are different. The wine collector has a different collection outlook and requirements than a numismatic collector. Okay, that's just the way it is. But the fun thing about that is we know those collectible assets. All right, so we can listen to your needs as a collector and go ahead and provide coverage that really aligns with what you need. The other one is claims experience. As I mentioned, we're underwritten by Markel, leaders in the space. The average turnaround time is 3 days, which is great. But you're speaking with an adjuster who knows the market. They know numismatics, they know wine, they know fine art, they know antiquities. They do this on a daily basis. So that's why we're confident and comfortable with our relationship with Markel, because they are leaders in the space, which means that we're defined by our claims, right? And so with their claims documentation, we have a very good reputation out in the market. We get this question quite a bit. So what is the first step in insuring my collection? For us here at Bluewater, it's always about proper documentation. We want to relay that to our clients. Is it inventory list? Is it appraisal? Is it a GIA report for jewelry? Is it a receipt, an invoice? Whatever that is that shows some sort of one, the product, the asset actually exists. Two, the value associated with it, and three, the description of the asset. It's extremely important. We're huge advocates of it. We actually partnered with a online inventory management platform called Art Attendant, who helps catalog collectible items, fine art, and antiquities. So because of that, we feel it's extremely important, because at the end of the day, it just comes back to the claims process. We're huge advocates on explaining the claims process to our clients to make sure that they're comfortable. We want to make sure we're 100% transparent, and our clients love it. So documentation, and more documentation. This doesn't mean that our clients have to go crazy, but with documentation, but just a brief inventory list showing what is that asset, what's the description, what's the value, right? So as long as we have that, we're very, very comfortable. The other question along with that is, do I really need an inventory list? This is a question that comes up, and it may vary per specialty provider. in our mind here at Bluewater, it is important. And we believe that every collection should have some sort of inventory list. Let's say, for instance, it's not a whole list, but maybe it's part of a list. Maybe it's just a list of the most valuable assets. That's great. We love that. Let's move forward with that. But at least it's something. Every collector knows what their most valuable asset is. And having that on a spreadsheet or online platform like Art Attendant is extremely helpful, because at the end of the day, if they have a claim, we want to make sure that you're paid out on that particular asset. Okay, so in our mind, we would like to have every collection have an inventory list. We know that's not realistic, but a partial list would help us, right? And at the end of the day, it does help our collectors. Another question, how often do I need an appraisal, right? So this comes up quite a bit. This varies in the market. There's really no standard to this. This question, or the answer to this question, is going to vary per expert. In our mind, it really depends on the piece. Okay, if it's a blue chip piece, which every collection category, it could be fine art, numismatic, wine, comic books, whatever the case may be, gaming memorabilia is huge nowadays. There's always going to be some sort of blue chip asset out there. Those blue chip assets really do need to get appraisals every couple of years, okay, because they're buying and selling frequently. Once that happens, the market changes. So it's good to have an idea of what that item is actually appraised for. What is that current market value of that particular asset? We do have clients that, we talk to, and they're like, well, yeah, I purchased this item even 10 years ago. I have a bill of sale, and, we suggest to them, wow, this is a really nice piece. You might want to consider getting this appraised, because at the end of the day, we're going to pay out of whatever value is listed on that inventory sheet. Okay, so if that value isn't up to date, then we're not paying out correctly. Okay, so we want to make sure that the items that we insure are up to date, so you are protected, the collector. All right, ultimately, that's the goal. Okay, to make sure that our clients are properly protected. This comes up a lot when for our wine collectors as well. They have a certain vintage of wine, and they have to go back into their database or get an appraisal on this particular vintage to make sure that it falls within that current market value. Because if they drop it, breakage is included. If they drop it, we want to make sure that we pay out appropriately when it comes to that particular asset. At the end of the day, again, we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that our clients are properly protected, so they're paid out the right way. Okay. So appraisals, we encourage that. Industry standard is 3 to 5 years. But if you have a certain asset that that has appreciated in value over time, definitely get an appraisal on it, because at the end of the day, we're going to insure it for whatever that current market value is. Okay, and you know what? That's the benefit of the program. Providing that full value protection for individual assets in the entire collection. That's what we do best, right? And so having that documentation, having that updated appraisal really does help. And we are partners with another company. So if you need any recommendations when it comes to appraisal services, shoot me an email. It's going to be listed here at the end of the presentation. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you. At the end of the day, we want to help you through your collecting journey. That's what we call it here at Bluewater, collecting journey for a collector throughout the duration when you first purchase that first piece all the way to liquidation. Everything in between is that collecting journey, and so we want to make sure that we're helping you through that.
Oh, okay. There's a question that came in. It says from Brian, under what circumstances is an appraisal from a designated appraiser required?
So when is it required? So great question, Brian. That comes up frequently. For our guidelines here at Bluewater, and I can't speak to every company out there, right? So every company is going to have different guidelines. But for us particularly, any item that's valued at $100,000 and above, we do require some sort of documentation or the provenance of the piece. So that's our threshold is 100,000. But like I said, if you have an item that has appreciated value over time, and you haven't got that appraisal in the last, let's say, 7 years, we would recommend getting an appraisal. What we've done over time, and it works extremely well, is we can insure any item, right, for that current market value, whatever that bill of sale is, whatever that invoice is. We'll insure an item for $5,000 if that's what a person bought it for 7 years ago. But is that the current market value? Probably not. But the great thing is, once we get that appraisal, we can increase the value to what that appraisal is. That happens all the time. So we're more than happy to do that. And in that way, we feel great because we know that, yeah, you know what, we're insuring this item to its appropriate value. This is great because we know at the end of the day, that's how our product's defined, right? So I hope that answers your question. Just continuing on, I just wanted to include a couple different things here. One is insurance gaps with collectors. And this is what we see, okay? When we get calls from collectors, we have conversations with them and really talk about their collection profile, because that's what it is. It's the profile of the collection that we're looking at to really determine what are the proper coverages for that collection. Okay, so number one is your proper evaluation, which we're talking about right now, just to make sure that the collection is appropriately and properly evaluated. So like I mentioned before, because at the event of a loss, we don't want to make sure that we're paying out on that particular asset or that collection in a whole. So proper evaluation of a collection. Okay. Inventory management. I said this before. Remember, documentation. Proper inventory management is critical. So making sure that whatever asset collection that is, it's just properly documented and managed. No matter if it's just the top high value assets, that could be the 10% of the collection. It's something that is documented. Again, our attendant is one of our partners, and I believe WorthPoint actually has some sort of inventory management as well. So, there's different providers out there that can help with that. Awareness of insurance details or insurance coverages. We get this all the time where a lot of collectors, and rightfully so, because at the end of the day, people are busy, especially nowadays. They don't want to talk about insurance. They don't want to think about insurance. We'll talk about insurance all day long, but we get it, right? Insurance isn't one of those popular topics. And so it's very easy to say, yeah, I really don't know what I'm insuring or what this coverage really entails. And that's okay. That's why we're here to answer those questions and to guide our collectors and our clients through that process. So unaware of certain insurance details. A common one is shipping coverage isn't covered. Okay, well, now we know that. Or, I'm not covered for flood. Okay, well, now we know that. Now that we do know that, we can do something about it, right? And now we have tools, we have companies that do provide coverages for some of these exposures that are out there that really align with what the collector really does need. Okay, so those are the three top ones that we see. So evaluation, inventory management, and just awareness of insurance details. Again, I go back to the first slide when it comes to insurance details. If you're already working with an agent, a broker, call them, email them, right? And just say, hey, I'm thinking about my collection. What is this? How am I properly covered here? Can you help me through that process? And they would be more than happy to do that for you. And that's the conclusion of the webinar. So those were the main points that we see, something that we thought that would be important for a presentation for you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them on chat. That's me in the lower corner. That's our number below and my email address. So feel free to email me directly. I'd be more than happy to help. Call us, ask for me. I'd be more happy to speak with you, just to make sure that, to answer any kind of questions you do have, because typically what we do discover even after a client gets insurance with us, it happens all the time. We usually follow up, but we usually do get questions about, you know, am I covered for this? Am I covered for that? And we're more than happy to answer those detailed questions. At the end of the day, we want to be as transparent as possible. We know that we're not going to be able to insure every collection. We want to insure every collection, but we're just not going to be able to, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that we pass along the knowledge to collectors who are out there, because at the end of the day, more knowledge you have, the better, that you can really ask those questions that aligns with your needs when it comes to collecting.
I really appreciate you taking the time to go through this with us, Jason. I have a valuable Babe Ruth documentation. I'm a consignment seller on eBay personally.
Okay.
And so when people bring stuff to me and it's not in my possession for very long, I'm just wondering if I should be checking into insurance on those items.
So you bring up a great question. So this whole presentation was really tailored to the private collector.
Sure.
If you go to our website, you'll discover that we have a commercial product, actually a few of them. And so dealers, coin dealers, news, art dealers, comic dealers, brokers, auction houses, corporate collections. So we do run the gamut. We do really do it all here at Bluewater. So when it comes to your business, right, we would actually be able to provide you coverage that protects items that are on consignment, okay, because they're in what we call care, custody, and control, okay, triple C. So we'd be able to provide you coverage for those items at a value or a limit that you feel would be appropriate. Happens all the time. We have these conversations consistently with our clients, our dealer clients. And it's a great product because it protects for shipping, it protects for items in your control under consignment, but it also protects for inventory that you currently own as well that you're trying to sign or trying to sell. So there's a lot of nuances to the program. I would love to, we can talk about it offline, but that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it. And it's a great program.
Okay, great. No, I think that's helpful. And I'm sure that a few other people will be interested in that. So it'll be good to know that we can get that information or give you a call and follow up on that. Great.
Certainly.
Okay. Brian said thanks for the response. And thank you, everybody, for attending. And stay safe out there.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone, for your time. Definitely appreciate it. And stay safe. Even though we're isolated, we're together. That gives us the opportunity to look through our collections, go online and browse. So a lot of our clients are actually having a lot of fun during this time. So be safe out there.